Our theme this month is I Walk by Faith, and our topic today is Faith Makes All Things Possible. In the Science of Mind text, for those of you who have one, there's a chapter devoted to faith. Now there's an idea to pursue, faith. However, in many religions, philosophies, and even scientific processes, that word has come to represent a potpourri of definitions, not all of them truly representative of its deepest meanings. So this month, I'm going to be talking about the practice, and the practice of faith. No, I'm not stuttering. Stay with me and watch that statement unfold. And I am going to use the definition of faith that is contained in our Science of Mind text, which you will find in the glossary. So, faith according to Holmes. Here are some of the examples in his writings that stand out for me. Faith is an affirmative mental approach to reality. We should constantly vitalize our faith. In such degree as we speak our truth, Spirit has spoken. Fear is the negative use of faith. When one praying becomes convinced, the prayer is automatically answered. In order to have faith, we must have the conviction that all is well. In order to keep faith, we must allow nothing to weaken that conviction. Faith, an active faith, is the faith of God. And let me expand on what I just said in the last statement. Active faith is the faith of God, not in God. Is there a difference? You bet your sweet bibby there is. Faith in God suggests that God is somewhere else, doing its thing independent of my thoughts, intentions, expectations, and behaviors. And I, fearful and hopeful, wait to see what is visited upon me in life. Faith of God, on the other hand, means that I am as trusting of my intentions, strength, and convictions as the creative energy of the universe is. Whoa, what a difference. So now I can recognize what is meant by faith is an affirmative approach, a mental approach to reality. But wait, there's more. Anyone can use the short form, that is, go to the glossary and read Holmes' Cliff Notes on what faith means. This is a constant source of reference, and those of you who have a concordance, that's another source of info on what's in Holmes' writings. There are almost 100 references to faith in the Science of Mind text alone. It's like a buffet line for religious scientists. Anyone can find something that feeds them about what faith is, why it's valuable to us, and how to initiate and use it. And all of these resources are available to us whenever and wherever we are to develop our faith, expand our faith, work our faith. Which brings us to today's topic. With faith, all things are possible. Metaphysically speaking, for example, the character of Jesus in the Christian faith is the story from his conception to his resurrection and is the symbolic journey of the soul. If we go back over thousands of years throughout the ages, we will find references to a cosmic savior in practically every religion or spiritual teaching, including paganism. They all partake of a heroic journey with many trials and tests along the way, eventually being either crucified or killed, only to rise again, unvanquished. So the resurrection story of Jesus is not confined to Christian teachings. Ernest Holmes believed this because of his concept of body was a metaphysical one. He maintained that all bodies were formed in the same and out of the same substance, which he referred to as ether. This is what he called the spiritual body, or body of light, which is the true body of every individual. He believed that when individual consciousness, or awareness, is spiritualized by the realization of its cosmic oneness with the universe, for example, as in the case of the evolved consciousness of anyone, this would create a quickening and intensity of vibration within that individual. The result would be a disappearance of the physical, illusory sense of self, revealing the true body, which is the immortal self. This body would be invisible to the human mind because it only relates to life through the physical senses. It expects to see separate physical concepts, and so it does. In today's representation of metaphysics, we refer to this as transitioning into another level of consciousness. Our essence moves on into infinity. For those of you who are Harry Potter fans, this may have a ring of the familiar in contemporary writings. If you are so inclined, do some checking out of the invisible cloak theory. And if you are a quantum physics follower, do some research on shape-shifting. Anyway, I digress. In the story of Jesus, for example, Holmes wrote, Jesus revealed himself to his followers after his resurrection to show them that death is but a passing to a higher sphere of life and action. But what if after considering all that, one still believes the story is just a myth? Actually, that's fine too. Why? Because the myth tells us the same story in symbolic form. However, first we need to clarify what we mean by a myth. The popular understanding of myths is that they belong in the realm of fantasy, fairy tales, and entertainment. But nothing could be further from the truth. As we've seen in the works of Joseph Campbell and others like him, the history of humanity is rich and full of wonderful myths which have great meaning, great moral messages, and great demonstrations of faith. The good news in many of them, though, is that we don't have to die to be resurrected. Every time we move through a past restriction and take another step along the spiritual way, we are crossing out the old, rolling away the stone of limitation, and rising in consciousness to the new. These, then, become our own demonstrations that faith makes all things possible. So what do you have faith in? Have you ever asked yourself that question? And if so, how did it react to your own question? How did you react to your own question? When you declare an intention, do your spiritual practice, and release it into universal mind, do you have faith that it is manifesting right here, right now? Or do you have faith that it manifests at the right and perfect moment? Or do you hope that it manifests, but when you just don't know how or when? Or if? Holmes quotes from the Old Testament in the King James Version of the Bible, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And a myriad of others have quoted that concept in a variety of ways. However, Holmes elaborates by saying this: my mind must be steady in its conviction that my life is some part of God and that the Spirit is incarnated in me. Faith in God is a spiritual quality of the mind. An understanding faith is based on immutable principle. Its action is higher than that of the intellect because it is born of intuition. So if you look at your list of the things you have faith in, where is God on that list? Maybe you'd like to move it up higher on the list that's already at the top. Our theme this month, I Walk by Faith, is also the title of a song written by Suze Ogden a number of years ago, and I'd like to share the words to that song with you. I walk by faith and not by sight. I live by one I know is true. I walk by faith and not by sight. My life is always new. It's actually a chant. We'll try to get that from one of her albums so we can play it for you during this month of talks on walking by faith. I'm going to close this morning with a statement in one of the articles in the June edition of the Science of Mind magazine. The article is titled, "The Calm in the Storm." Ernest Holmes writes, "To desert the truth in the hour of need is to prove that we do not know the truth. Being the calm in the storm requires us to push through our own fears and doubts while standing firm in the spiritual practices and principles we embrace." So Sally Robbins, who contributed this article, writes, "In the midst of confusion, I am peace. In the midst of fear, I am calm. In the midst of doubt, I am tranquil. When the world offers anxiety, I give back serenity. When the world gives agitation, I offer hope. When the world rages with turbulence, I am unruffled." And in closing, I share with you the words of Teacher Jesus. "My peace I leave with you, my peace I give you." And so it is.